my parents are not educated people. They never went to, university. I was the first person in my family to go to university. If you're watching this, I highly recommend watching the first video. This is the part 2 of how I decided to become a nurse. So fall time came around and I ended up going to U of T. I was still like on the fence, like, did I make the right decision? So what I ended up doing is at my first semester of U of T, like, I kept on thinking, like, maybe I need to transfer into their business program. So on top of taking all my courses, like I forgot what they call it, not electives. No, I like required courses for the program. All my electives I took were like business related. Economics, like intro to business. So I did the first year, second year, fine. At this point, like I was like, by second year, I was like, yeah, whatever. Like I didn't care about the business anymore. I was just trying to get through school. My third year, like I did an 8-month co-op. It was downtown Toronto. I would take the subway every single day and I was paid for this, and I was doing a lot of research in this co-op placement. Like it was a research program that was a collab between Sick Kids and St. Michael's and collecting data from parents, and we used that data to kind of study them over a course of years. And yeah, like it was basically like that. And like my role was to just basically recruit, to get the participants informed consent. And I had my own little office. I had my own little cubicle that I was at. I had the whole business dress up, like heels, pencil skirt, like dress pants. Like I had that like lifestyle, right, of like clocking in, clocking out, like kind of like a 9 to 5. The corporate world, person that's new and doing your co-op, obviously you're kind of doing more of the grunt work. And I just remember feeling like I don't want to do this. Like I don't want to graduate, and this is my option. This is an opportunity to network, number 1, and number 2, really try to figure out what I want to do. Like, because again, this was 8 months of me working, so I'm getting paid, I'm getting work experience, so I'm not taking any courses. Like I was working full-time hours, like Monday to Friday. So I was like, I'm taking this opportunity to get my money up, number 1, and number 2, network to figure out next year what my next move is. At the clinic I was placed at, there was a nurse, and I remember observing her interactions with the patient. I remember seeing like her job and how she talks to families, and I was like, oh, like nursing is cute. I had like a better understanding of like the interaction, how important the interaction is between the nurse and like the patients, right? And this was it was a pediatric clinic too, I think. A really good friend, she ended up moved and started her first year in nursing. When she was applying, and she was always telling me about like the program and why it's a good program and like why it would be a good career option. Like I was there, I was listening to her, but like I wasn't really like taking it in, if that makes sense. First introduction to like thinking like, oh, like maybe this is an option. Also, I was really interested in nutrition, health and nutrition at this time. So I was like networking with one of the dietitians that was on the project. I remember like I had a sat down with her and had like kind of like coffee, and like I would like take notes and ask her questions like, oh, like what are the steps to becoming a dietitian? Beyond LinkedIn, I would send out emails, or not emails, like messages to people who were nurses or like anything. I would just kind of ask them questions and ask if they wanted to meet. I don't know if I actually met up with anyone, but I just remember trying to reach out or trying to like friend people on LinkedIn because I wanted to kind of make that connection. And I said I had questions to some people, and I ended up arranging a phone call and kind of like picked their brain because I didn't know what I wanted to do. So that's literally how it went. I remember I did that, and then but the whole time while that was going on, my friend in the background has been saying like, girl, you should just go into nursing. Like you'll have job security, the pay is decent. Like, at this time, this was like years ago, this was more than like I think 6 years ago, or this was like 5 or 6 years ago. So at the time, there was a lot of like on media, like social media, there was a lot of nurses on Instagram that were posting like travel nursing and like the luxury life, like all these things, right? From the day I applied to that nursing school and I eventually ended up moving, I guess the rest is really history. Like, I ended up moving there. I ended up doing all the science classes. Literally, I remember my first year classes, I did I feel like I did really, really well. Like, to that school, I was already in a good standing. Like, I think my GPA was like 3.7. And then going to that school my first year, I'm pretty sure my GPA didn't really change much. Like, it was still 3.7, 3.8. Like, I did really well in my first year nursing classes. It helped a lot to also have my friends' support, and we ended up being roommates, and she ended up leaving it up to God. At that point, I was just like, I didn't even know what area of nursing I wanted to work in. I was just kind of like going with the flow. Like, I still feel like I was still finding myself. But one thing I will say is that being in my first year science classes and learning about the human anatomy, like the social determinants of health, all of that felt very good, because I guess, I don't know what else the word, it just felt familiar. It felt good. It felt like I was in the right place, because first of all, my first degree that I was studying, a lot of that was centered around that. Like, it was building off of that. Like, all of these topics were things I learned before. They were all topics that I excelled in. And I just felt like I fit right in, if that makes sense. Stuff that I know, and this is stuff that I enjoy learning, right? Okay, although my life could have looked so different had I gone to business school, but you know, my life would have looked very different. Who knows? Maybe I would have been making way more money than I'm making now, but there was just something inside me that it didn't sit right with me at that time to make that decision. I felt like that decision was not based off of knowing what my true interests were. It was just based off of looking at what other people were doing, what was kind of like popular at the time. To say, like, really just trust your gut, trust the process. And it's so hard. Like, I really sympathize and empathize with people who are in high school, with my high schoolers. Like, this is why I have this channel and why I'm refocusing everything on nursing, because I really feel for you guys who are in high school trying to make that decision, trying to make that shift to decide what you want to do for the rest of your life. Because it really did feel like, oh my God, I have to sit down and choose what I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life, and I'm only 16, 17 years old now. Like, I don't even know what I like. I don't even know my interests. Yeah, so that would be my advice to you guys. Like, really try to keep your options open if you're not sure yet, and just be open to learning, asking questions. And there's nothing wrong with taking time for yourself, taking a year off or whatever, just so that you could find yourself and be sure, because money is going into school. You don't want to waste money, right? So anyways, this video was really long, really overdue. But I just want to say thank you guys if you stuck around and you watched it. I'm so happy that you guys are here. Don't forget to subscribe, like this video for more. And yeah.